All right, guys, there's one new giant feature about this RS4 Mini that finally has me putting a gimbal into my kit for every freaking shoot, no matter the size of the production. But before we go over that one magical feature, let's first go over all the boring stuff that we need to cover. Gimbals have always been a little bit of a nightmare to me if I'm having to operate a camera, because personally, if I'm having to touch a camera, I want it to be seamless and almost minimalist. Gimbals tend to lean on the side of complicated. So it's always kind of come down to, is this shot important enough to have to deal with a gimbal? So when it comes to your general type of content creation or low stakes filmmaking, like as we're filming a YouTube video right now, gimbals aren't worth the hassle. Until now. Easy to carry, easy to balance, easy to shoot with. Some quick points. The RS4 Mini is nice and compact and it doesn't require any additional add-ons. It also has the new features where it will auto lock the gimbal when you put it to sleep mode or turn it on and off. Has the new Teflon coating so it's easier to balance, a built-in rechargeable battery, quickly go from horizontal to vertical mode, and not only does it handle some pretty big mirrorless cameras, you can also use your phone on this as well. And you can now do AI active tracking without, again, any additional features. You don't need to plug anything in. It's this simple one little attachment that locks in there. So the RS4 Mini can hold up to 2 kilograms, which is around 4.4 pounds. The rig I've been rocking the most with this so far is the SONY a7C II, which is, I think it's about like 1.1 or 1.2 pounds, with the Blazer Apex autofocus anamorphics. This is the 35 millimeter. I believe this is around like 1.6 pounds. You know, like my Nikon Z8, adapting an E-mount lens like this to it, it's gonna be able to hold that just fine. Even in the past, there was times where, you know, I would take an R5C as a gimbal rig and I would take my RS4 Pro. Now that we have this, you know, I could simply just throw this in my bag, and with any mirrorless camera, this is gonna be able to hold it. And again, it's just way less intensive and way less complicated, way more smaller, compact. So even for pro jobs, I would still happily use this actually, which is kind of shocking to myself as well. This is the magic with the RS4 Mini. This little guy. What's cool is, one, it's magnetic, but two, it locks in. I could do this and that will start tracking. So when I'm filming by myself, this is going to be a beautiful thing. Everybody knows about the Osmo Pocket 3, the pocket camera that DJI makes. I've been using that a lot, but honestly, I might trade that out even more for this now, because now I could shoot with autofocus lenses like the Sure anamorphic or like the Blazer Apex, and I can still get really high quality cinematic looking shots with the tracking features. Let's talk a little bit more details about this and how to use it. All right, guys, so to get to the tracking features here, I'm just gonna swipe left here. You see our first option is the composition. You can see we have two options here: keep current framing or center tracking subject. So if you're someone that just wants to frame yourself up dead in the center because you're vlogging, whatever, this is going to be the best option here. But if you want to be a little bit more creative with it, which personally, this is what I'm doing, I'm going to choose the keep current framing. From there, we have the active track speed. The low is really good if you're not going to be moving around too much. And you have to remember, if you're going to be moving too fast, the tracking is going to lose you. Medium is like kind of the average mode. This has kind of been the safest mode for me. And then you have a fast mode. This is not going to look superhuman or natural. So if you don't care about that, then that mode's just fine. But if you want to keep a little bit more cinematic results, I would stick in slow or medium. From there, we have the ring light. All that's doing, the little module here, once you start tracking, it's going to flash green and then hold the green light, and that's just letting you know that it is tracking. From there, we have gesture setting. Now, this is where one of the quirks come in with this whole system. A lot of the times when we're filming certain things, you know, say if someone's talking with their hands a lot, this is going to trigger this. It's been doing it to us this whole weekend. And, you know, that's just kind of what comes with this technology. Sometimes it's going to catch the signals because it's tracking it, you know, it's pretty smart. You can see I actually had it turned off because we're filming in a film lab and he was using his hands a lot and all that. And I was manning the gimbal here. So I was able to just trigger tracking via the trigger up front there, and then start and stop capturing. So I have the Sony a7C II on here right now, and I connected it via Bluetooth. So once I turn that on, when I do the peace sign, it will trigger the camera to start recording. This is really freaking amazing. One unexpected way that I've been using this is to frame up composition. Basically, I've been using it as a BTS shooter. So I'm gonna wake up the motors here. You can see we're on a tripod right now. I'm just gonna engage tracking here. We're recording now. I'm gonna compose myself dead center here. I'm gonna walk away. I'm going to get in position. Now I have too much headroom. You can see all that headroom on there. So I'm gonna just lower my head down. I'm just gonna stop tracking there. I'm gonna recompose myself, start tracking again. And there we go. Now I have the perfect composition. So this is kind of how I've been using it. And again, I could keep it moving as if there's an actual human behind me, which is going to come in clutch again if you're just filming by yourself and you want a more human look to it. Or you could just stop tracking again. And from here, you know, now I have my composition. I didn't need somebody behind the camera to compose it. I didn't have to go back and forth to the camera. So even on a tripod, this system, I'm going to be using this a lot. Like I wasn't expecting for this to be so useful outside of just using it like a standard gimbal. I don't know what it is, but I just love convenience. And if something's not convenient, I won't use it. So the fact that I really don't know what it is about like compact, affordable gear makes me want to be a better filmmaker. You would think it'd be the opposite way, but it's not. I'm about to help Connor film something. I wouldn't use a gimbal traditionally for stuff like this because I'm lazy. But since this is so approachable and friendly, I'm totally okay with filming the setup.
Gives you a lot of patience because as we had talked about before, all your shots kind of matter, especially because developing film and buying film can get a little bit expensive, but we'll go over that.
So guys, you guys saw the terrain we're walking in. The tracking just makes life easier because after testing it more and more, I was pretty confident with it. So I was able to just focus on where I'm stepping, make sure I'm not getting any cactus on me, and then just let the tracking hold Connor while I'm just trying to follow him. Crossing, don't waste the shot. So you guys can see that tracking helps. Like, you know, we should not be using a gimbal in this type of terrain. You see Connor started moving and I was watching where I was stepping, but the tracking kept him locked on. I do another orbit shot around Connor. So again, guys, I'm watching all the cactus around me. Make sure I don't step on any freaking snakes or anything. And the tracking is handling everything. So guys, even when it's tracking, I'm still able to readjust the composition when needed. I was scared that maybe sun directly into this tracking unit would mess it up, but it hasn't. So you can see I'm trying to make sure I don't get my shadow on him. So I'm dipping down low and the tracking's doing everything. The gimbal's fully twisted and we lost tracking there. So it finally broke. So you see the composition is real bad. So I'm gonna just use my joystick, readjust framing, and then Connor walk. You see now the framing will hold on to that position. Super good. Also, this Blazer Apex, I just updated the firmware again. I think this is the third or fourth one they sent me. The autofocus is working so freaking good. Push in, hopefully it tracks his head. We're going through some bushes. It is doing a really good job. All right, guys, now I'm on the Fujifilm XM5 with the Viltrox 13mm. What's super cool is if you guys have any experience with the DJI Pocket 3, there's a super cool mode where you could track yourself. Now, all of us are wishing for like a pro version of the Pocket 3 that has a little bit more depth of field, maybe, you know, a bigger sensor. I don't know. But this gimbal is going to give us that now. I'm just going to click the trigger in front right here, and now we're tracking. So I'm going to move, and it acts just like the Pocket 3. So it's cool if you want to vlog with a set like this. It is kind of heavy. So I have my arm on my hip right now. I'm not Kofi. I can't hold this out forever. I could probably hold it longer than Terry Warfield, but you can see I'm just going to act like I'm out here vlogging, and it's gonna keep on my face. Now, will the Fujifilm XM5 and the Viltrox 13mm stay autofocused? I don't know about that, but yeah, I'm just out here. I don't have to look at the camera at all. I'm just like, oh, look at this out here. Oh, look at that cactus. I may or may have not dropping the gimbal. We are on the Sony a7C II with the Blazer Apex autofocus anamorphic. We'll see how well this works. I'm going to first start tracking. So I just saw the light turn green, and you can see the gimbal is now following me. In this segment here, I want to see how far out I can go until it stops tracking me. Obviously, we're out here in the middle of nowhere. Let's trigger recording first. So I'm gonna do the peace sign. I just saw the ring light trigger. So now we're recording on the Sony a7C II and the Blazer Apex autofocus anamorphic. I'm gonna come out here a little bit. I'm gonna walk this way. You can see it is still tracking me. Let's go out this way. I do have my Broncos rear tire kind of blocking the camera a little bit. I just want to add a little bit of an obstacle. It's still tracking me. I'm kind of far. It's still tracking me. That's pretty wild. Let's keep going. I'm really shocked it's still going. Wow. I didn't ask what the distance was on tracking. It's still tracking me. The mics might cut out before it stops tracking me. Now you can imagine if there's a bunch of people out here, it might get tripped up. Again, there's nothing out here. Let's see, is it still tracking? I can't, it's still tracking. Holy shit. Okay. We're all the way out here. I don't have my prescriptions on right now, so I can't tell if it's tracking me or not. Again, my mics might be cutting out at this distance. I don't think it's tracking me. I can't tell if it's tracking me from this distance. Let's see. Okay, it's tracking me now. I don't know if it tracked me up over there. Obviously, I'm so far out that, you know, the composition is gonna change, but you can see what's cool. Even if it did stop tracking me, once you get back close, it will start tracking you again. So the composition did get lost a little bit. So I'm just going to stop recording. I'm gonna recompose myself. If I compose myself over on this side, it will hold me on that side. I'm gonna stop it and I'm gonna go on the other side. I can't even really see myself in the Sony a7C screens, flipped out screen. So you can see it's gonna hold me on that side. So this is really, really, really exciting for multiple reasons. You guys could imagine, wait, let me stop recording real quick. So the light just flashed red and now it sent the wireless signal. Now we stopped recording on the Sony a7C II. Now I'm gonna show you guys how to go into vertical mode for this. It's this screw right here. So I unscrewed it. From there, I'm going to push in and it releases. And on the bottom of the base plate right here, you can see there's a matching hole right here. So from there, I'm just gonna click that button in and then the bottom base plate clicks in just like so. And I'm gonna tighten that back down. Obviously your camera slides right in just as such and you lock it in and you're ready to go into vertical mode. While we're at it too, I might as well show you guys the iPhone attachment. Now, traditionally, I may not use an iPhone unless, you know, I'm using an iPhone as a dedicated camera for BTS, whatever it is. I may not use a gimbal with it. But the fact that this thing has a tracking feature, it's kind of like a no-brainer if you need to use your iPhone for anything. I'm just gonna remove our little plate here. Then this is the dedicated iPhone attachment. So you simply just slide it in on there, locks in. I could put my iPhone on here. You can see the iPhone go around there. I could put one of my Moment anamorphic lenses on the iPhone. And now we have, you know, a professional looking iPhone setup. Anybody who feels the need to hate on an iPhone on a gimbal, there's a lot of commercial brands that say, hey, can you actually film some on your iPhone? We found like it does better on social media and our vertical ads. There's a lot of money to be made in commercial work purely just off doing iPhone work. It's kind of insane. So I'm out here helping Connor film some stuff here. And I was gonna have him to do the signal to start tracking, but then I remembered if I just click the trigger, it will trigger tracking. Now I'm gonna turn it back on and you'll see it does the job for you. All I have to do is just be an AI robot and follow him around. While I'm helping Connor here, I'm gonna teach you guys some movements that I like to do with gimbals as well. So right now I'm in the pan, tilt, follow mode. I'm gonna put this into the FPV mode because I went in and I made a custom setting to where it's just vertical. Because one of the shots that I really love doing, you'll see here, I love doing reveal shots. So I'm gonna film Connor filming one of his segments and I'm gonna start with the reveal, doing a push in. From there, I'm gonna put it back into the pan, tilt, follow mode, and I'm gonna do an orbit mode. So let's see how this unfolds. Action.
So one of the limiting things about film, but it also is kind of its superpower in a way, is your limited number of exposures. So with this film, which by the way,
you saw live, I went from the FPV vertical mode and I was able to just switch it with my thumb here into pan, tilt, follow mode. And then I was able to start doing the orbit. And I was doing the orbit, I clicked the trigger to start tracking Connor. I have it to where it will hold the composition. So if Connor's framed on the right side of frame there, and I click tracking, it's gonna hold him on the right side of frame. So guys, I'm gonna show you another trick I do. It's another reveal shot, but instead of going from the sky, I'm gonna go from the ground and I'm gonna track Connor's feet. Again, I'm going to go into my custom mode for the tilt mode. So Connor, stay in a straight line.
Yep.
Don't veer off.
Yep.
I'll double click to reset. I'm gonna aim down. Let's hope this Sirui autofocus anamorphic holds, and action. Since again, we're tracking, I'm gonna do a vertical movement now. So you can see we're tracking. Connor, keep acting. Use your camera. So I'm just gonna lower the camera. Oh, that's beautiful. You see the horizon gets revealed behind Connor there. Now I'm gonna try to raise it and do an orbit. So there's multiple axes pivoting. Like that was insane. Do the tracking on this makes life so good. This is really exciting for multiple reasons. Again, for content creators, you know, this is a done deal. You guys can imagine what will be possible with this setup for you guys. Personally, I think the Pocket 3 is an amazing camera for content creators, but if you are someone that likes higher image quality from a full frame sensor or Super 35 sensor, and you have a rig like this gimbal is gonna be a no-brainer. It's gonna be freaking clutch. When it comes for someone like me, already I've been kind of, look, you see, this is what I was saying about with the triggering. I talk with my hands and it's triggering the gimbal here. When it comes for someone like me, there has been jobs, you know, where I am making 5 figures on the job. And a lot of those times, you know, it depends on the camera rig that I'm using. If I'm using like a Komodo, obviously I need the RS4 Pro for that. But if I'm using something more like a Sony a7C II as a B cam, or what I would usually do is have like a camera, and that was like, you know, a larger build out that I would use handheld. And then there was cameras where I would leave it specifically just for a gimbal. So this would be amazing for that, because we don't need the Raven Eye, we don't need LiDAR, we don't need any of that. It's kind of built into the system now. When it comes to a lot of like content creation and YouTube stuff, like all, you know, everything we're all doing, I've always felt weird taking my RS4 Pro out. I mainly use that for like the bigger shoots, you know, chasing cowboys with car rigs. When it comes to all this stuff, I always wanted just a really user-friendly gimbal. That's kind of what this is. Gimbals make everything more magical. The production value just skyrockets. Even though we're using a consumer-friendly camera, a consumer-friendly anamorphic autofocus lens, it still looks insane. Like gimbals really just take everything up to the next level. All right, guys, I pretty much have the core cameras that I think a lot of people are going to love this gimbal for. First off, we have the Sony a7C II, the Blazar Apex, and the Sirui autofocus anamorphic. All of this will balance on there. I was a little bit worried. I was like, I don't know if these, because these are, you know, dense lenses, all metal, and they balance just fine. From there, we have the LUMIX S9. Honestly, this is one of the most powerful full frame compact cameras, open gate, full anamorphic support. Really amazing. The autofocus has been great for me. I haven't run into any issues with it personally. I'm not chasing cheetahs though, like most YouTubers act like they are. From there, we also have the Fujifilm XM5. Pretty much any Fujifilm camera is going to balance on this. The GFX, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not going to test that. I don't have one. This, you can see this is the Viltrox 13mm. We got the Peter McKinnon Polar Pro, Maglock VND. I think these are going to be some of the core cameras that you use on this. All of them balance just fine. Even with the cages, I will say though, the smaller cage for the XM5 does not clear the plate that goes to it. So I'm going to use the plate that comes with it. All right, guys, when it comes to RS4 Mini, to balance it, it's pretty much just like every other gimbal, but for anybody who's never balanced a gimbal, insanely quick rundown. DJI provides you with everything you need to, you know, balance any camera you have, even your phone. Yes, this gimbal can hold your phone. More of the pro gimbals, the phones are too light to balance it. So the way they design this is, you know, it can hold everything as light as a phone, all the way up to a larger camera system like this. I'm just gonna slide my camera into right here. I'm gonna start with this axis first, right here. Then I'm gonna push it back until it holds itself up. See, it went a little bit back, so I'm gonna push it a little bit forward. DJI does provide you with this little knob, so you can use the little fine micro adjustments on here. I'm gonna lock that axis in. Then from there, I'm going to lock that pivot point now. So you see now it doesn't move. But now I'm gonna unlock the pivot point back here. And you can see the camera fell that way. So I'm gonna loosen this axis up down here. I'm gonna push it over. Really important point here. They have a, I want to call it Teflon, but basically before some of their gimbals was hard to balance because it would stick. So the coating they put on here is the same coating that's on the professional gimbals. So I was easily able to adjust it. So you see it's falling that way a little bit too much. So I'm gonna come back over a little bit. Another thing that helps too is to lift the weight up, and all of a sudden it's way easier to move. From there, I'm just gonna lock that point back down. Sometimes if you have any gimbal issues, it might be because you didn't tighten that piece down. So I'm gonna keep doing it, and that's for all your access points. So if you have any jitters or any weird stuff, you might just need to tighten it down more. And the last axis we have to do is this. I'm gonna just bring it back and forth. It's already balanced. If it wasn't balanced, it would do something like that. The last thing I'll show you now, DJI gave us another Pro feature from their Pro gimbals into this gimbal. All the axes are locked. I'm gonna start it up. It unlocks itself. So again, say if I'm doing something crazy like this, I'm gonna turn it off. It relocks itself. Another cool thing too, in the menu, you could do it to where it will lock itself in this position. It will fold it all up for you. Personally, I don't like doing that because a lot of times when we are filming, you know, sometimes we have stuff and gadgets all over it. This is just a little bit easier.